It's James with the Clean Comedy Podcast, and today I'm going to come to you before we jump into the episode and tell you a little bit about something that Luke and I are happy to be part of. If you've listened to the episode with Mel Austin, he does a Squeaky Clean Comedy show, and one of our listeners heard about Mel and have been listening to us, and we appreciate it. John Budnick, he's a great guy. I had a call about this with him, but he and Mel worked together. They invited us to come and do stand-up, but we're going to do a over Zoom Squeaky Clean Comedy show on Saturday, May 23rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're on the West Coast, it's 4 to 4:30. Tickets and everything will be in the link below, and we're working with a bunch of different charities and groups to bring money to them. So we're trying to use this to benefit other people that have been affected by the COVID-19. And I hope that you guys join us. I hope that you tune in. I hope you buy a ticket. We'll get more details, but I'll put the link below so that people can buy tickets. We really would love you to help us, help others, because if we can give back, that's really what this is all about. We don't get anything out of this. We're here to help as many people as possible. So if you would do that, I'm going to put the link in the description, both on YouTube and in the audio version. If you're listening, just the audio version there, and then the link will also be on the YouTube video. Also, please come check us out on YouTube. You can see how ugly I am on YouTube, how luxurious Luke looks, and then also let's jump on into the episode, and you guys can get to meet everybody. And again, thank you so much, and have a great day.
Welcome to the Clean Comedy Podcast, featuring James Creviston and Luke LaCoy. Yeah, we're about to get clean up in here, so clean your mouth out with a bar of soap and get ready for the Clean Comedy Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's James. This is the Clean Comedy Podcast, and you guys know normally that we do a lot of this just audio only, but welcome to the 21st century where everybody uses Zoom. And before we get started, I kind of want to let you know that from now on, moving forward, there's going to be a different background on my screen behind me every time. If you post in the comments who it is, I'll do a shout out to you on the next episode. So whatever you guess this is going to be, my guests can't guess this, so they can't say anything. But there's a different background on here for every single time. So today, along with me is my co-host, Mr. Luke LaCoy. And then today we have an amazing, hilarious special guy. I've been trying to get this guy for like 2 years, I think now. So I'm going to bring him on. Please welcome the very amazing, the very talented. I mean, this dude is the best. Mr. Jason Love. Jason, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you for that lovely intro, James.
Yes, sir. Dude, I swear to you, I've been trying to get you for 2 years. I think that's
I'm really easy to find now, let me tell you.
That's why I did this. I was like, you know what? This has got to be the right time to get Jason, because otherwise there's no way we're ever going to get him again.
I don't get to guess at your background?
No, you can't. We can do it after you can, or you can even type it in there, but you can't say it because I want them to guess.
I'm typing it in, James. I'm typing it in.
All right, let's see.
All right. To everyone.
Did you get it? So for everybody who doesn't know you, and they should get to know you because, yes. So they
I
get to know you
Nailed
because
it.
you have, you're everywhere. I swear I see your name and your picture everywhere. You do cruise ships, you do your own shows, you did a dry bar comedy special. What else are you going to do next? Are you going to run for president? What are we going to get from Jason Love? Because I swear you do everything.
Well, I used to think that president was the be-all, end-all, but now I realize the governor seems to have more power over my life than anyone. So maybe I'll shoot for governor.
That'd be awesome. You know, if you just played your guitar and played songs to at all your meetings, when you coronavirus is gonna keep you home. Then people be like, oh, well, I love this guy. He's gonna say governor forever.
I broke down and I wrote a Corona parody, man. I try to avoid parodies because it's such low-hanging fruit, but I had to do it. And the hard part was finding a song that wasn't taken. I was like trying to find a license plate that wasn't taken.
So tell everybody kind of how you got started in comedy and what you mostly do, because I know and Luke knows, but a lot of people may not know you. And you're, like I said, you're one of my favorite people in the world. So
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. How did I get started? Well, it took a long time to like want what I want, like when you don't feel either deserving or who am I to think that? We get a lot of really bad messages as kids. And so it took a long time just to snap and want what I want. But before I did stand up, I was always doing stand up, but I just did it in other formats that were less scary. So I syndicated a cartoon, like it was kind of like The Far Side. And then I wrote a humor column. And then I wrote for other comics. I mean, it was always stand up. And then finally, I just realized that life's too short to not do what you have inside you to do. And I started touring with Craig Shoemaker. That was my first kind of like break. The Love Master.
yeah,
I was writing the Love Master jokes, ironically, which are not clean, and I work clean, completely clean all the time. But when I write for other comics, I'm now writing. I'm not going to say the name, it's probably not a good idea, but a couple of celebrity comics, and it's all anything that I have that doesn't go in my act goes to them.
yeah. And that's a good way to get started. I tell a lot of comedians to, if they like a specific comedian, to reach out to them and just say, hey, look, I wrote these jokes. They don't fit my act, but I think they might fit you. And then it might work, turn into some other deal. Is that how you got into writing for him?
Yeah, especially when you can catch someone's voice,
Yeah.
like when you start to think like them. Like I get that with like Mitch Hedberg. Like I totally feel him, and I feel that rhythm and the looking at the floor and man, like Turkey. We used to draw you. Like I just love that dude, man.
I know. I miss him so much.
Yeah, me too. We still have his albums, but he could have done so much more. Yeah, I used to do all kinds of things to kind of let it out. I used to go into the hills, James, and I'd do my stand up into a stick. And I was so afraid somebody would hear me, I would go like a mile up the hill. And then one time a hiker came around the corner and we just froze and looked at each other like, yeah, I'm the psycho your mom warned you about. Yeah.
Well, you're like the most confident person I've ever met, like in comedy, because you do everything. Like you do private shows, you do, produce your own shows, you do cruise ships, you play the guitar for goodness sake. Like actually, I should have said this before. I should have made you and Luke do like dueling guitars.
I know.
On this episode.
Luke's a musician.
Yeah, you guys are awesome like that. I don't have that skill set. So, what do you find doing stand up yourself is easier, or doing stand up with the guitar, like doing songs, easier for you? Like, is that something?
At first, it was a crutch, and the kind of things that I had to offer weren't particularly sophisticated. But what I like to do is not parodies like I was talking about, even though I just did one. It's kind of like just observations of funny stuff that's just sitting right there in the music. If you just listen to it, there's a lot of, these musicians are getting away with so much stuff. I was trying to nail this one. This is what I was working on like the other day, is Train. He's got this song. It's hey soul sister, what the miss. But if you listen to the lyrics, he's just that guy. Oh, my heart's gonna beat out of my untrimmed chest. I've decided you're the one that's worthy of me. You can kiss the ring. I'm like, screw you, man. Screw Train. I couldn't pull it off. I tried. He sang too high. Damn it.
So with that, there's I forgot, man, there was a comedian that I remember seeing in the late 90s, early 2000s who played guitar. Steven somebody, I forgot his name now. I just totally went blank. Is it Steven Wright?
He plays guitar.
And he like sang a song about like the wife leaving him. It was like sings it to his daughter. It's like a lullaby song.
Yeah, that dude's really funny. He actually went off to Broadway. He sings a song about his brother Craig, who's like the crazy.
Yeah. So the
Jesus' brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first exposure I had to musical comedy that wasn't like like some kind of like parody or like a movie like Spinal Tap or something like that, was him, and he did like a Comedy Central half hour. And I remember thinking like, wow, this guy is not only can tell jokes, but he sings songs that are even more hilarious than the joke. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
But I tried to learn guitar just because of him, and I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
He's
I'm not
next
smart enough.
level. Like the songwriting itself stands on its own.
Yes.
Just like Bo Burnham, like the music
Yes.
stands on its own, and he's really funny. So
Luke.
people like
Yes.
Dimitri Martin or Nick Thune, they just kind of use the guitar as like a soundtrack background mood enhancer more than they do, writing music really. I kind of do more. Then the music is like the second, like when I do a long set, but if I do an hour, I probably do 40 minutes of stand up and then I just close with music. So it's always changing. I probably have, 10 hours of music, but I use 20 minutes. And I try to keep it more like what Mark Eddy does, where it's just fun and, just kind of leaves everybody feeling like they saw a show, like a real, you know. Basically what I'm saying, James, is I don't have a closer. That's what I'm trying to say.
Now, you use the guitar, Luke used the guitar. Do you find that people respond to that better than regular stand up? Like, do you feel like they get a little more excited because it's something different? It's not just me standing in front of a mic or a comedian standing in front of a mic. It's this whole different kind of vibe because of it.
Yeah, it changes the vibration in the room, and that's the good part. And most of the time, it works. But there are a lot of comedy purists who poo-poo it. I won't name names, but they see it like a prop or a carrot top kind of cheat. And it could be because it's hard to follow because it changes the vibration. Most of the time, though, it doesn't matter. It's like it doesn't matter how you make them laugh.
Yeah.
Set yourself on fire, whatever you got to do. Um, so I don't care. For me, I love to play like Luke. I just love to play music, and I find so many funny things that I don't really care what those people say.
Now, working on the cruise ship, does that go over well on cruise ships? Because I know you
Much
do a
better
ton
on
of
the
those.
cruise ship. It's a lifesaver on the cruise ship. But it's so funny, like every audience is different. It's like the movie 50 First Dates. No matter how much you kill on one night, you got to wake up and go up that same hill all over again. Win them over, loosen them up. Doesn't matter, So every audience has its own personality, and most audiences love the guitar or enjoy the guitar, but some of them they just prefer that you just kept doing stand up, and I don't know until I break out the guitar. So sometimes I'll put it back down and just go back.
Now, how much time? How many show? I've never done a cruise ship, so you're coming. I'm coming from a place of ignorance of not knowing. When you go on a cruise ship, how long is the tour? How many shows do you have to do, like a week or a night or whatever? Like, what's the deals with those?
Well, if you got on a ship in early March, the tour is about 3 months long, and you're still out there. um, but usually it's just 2 weeks. I think when everybody comes back from this, everybody's it's almost like profiteering with the virus. Like everybody's using it as an excuse to lay people off or, whatever it is. And on cruise ships, I think they're going to reduce the pay and you're going to have to stay at sea longer. That's the scuttle around the water cooler. But if you work on, it depends on what cruise line you're on. If you do Carnival, you really do need 5 different 30-minute shows
Wow.
and I'm getting there. I really have to pad with some crowd work and some music, but they come back so much that, half the audience just saw you yesterday, and it's tough to pull the rug out twice. So the guys who are and the ladies who are on Carnival that are veterans, they'll have 5 different 30-minute shows. They're not all great, some of it's B material, but it's important to be different.
Does that
That's
force
different.
does that force you to write a lot? Like, do you find yourself having to write a lot more because of that?
Yeah, I've got 2.5 hours on the coronavirus now. I'm sure that's going to be a real winner a year from now. It's all worthless. Yeah, you write about the circumstances that you're all going through. So on the ship, I make myself get off on the port. I have I don't really care about parasailing and snorkeling. I'm just there to get 5 jokes, and I'm going to choose 2. I'm going to try them on the next show, and every show I just try probably just 1 or 2 new jokes, and then over time you develop a whole crew set.
Wow, man, you're a
Yeah.
hardworking guy. You're like the Seinfeld of the West Coast.
Uh, I love Seinfeld, man. I, he said it the best. He goes, these guys get up at 5 a.m. and they jackhammer. I can't write for an hour, really.
Luke, you look like you have a question there.
Um, I was, I did, and it's gone.
Yeah, the Carnival Cruise is to speak to the subject of your podcast. I was always told that when you work cruises that you have a big advantage in working clean, and that's why I went running at it. But even on the other cruise lines like Norwegian and now starting even Princess, you've got to have a dirty set, and it's tough to do it clean because they're introducing you. Are you, effing ready for this? And then here's Seinfeld, and what do you do with that? So it's been frustrating for me. My goal is to work clean anyway and just not mention it. And, I just know that some people are there for different reasons when they go to especially the 11 or the 12 o'clock show. They want you to be, it's almost for them, it's like foreplay or something. They're just there for a reason other than, the joy of comedy.
Now, Luke, now I see you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I
Too
mean,
late, Luke. Windows passed.
well, and that's interesting too, because like I've been to some dirty shows where like that's the theme. It's like the racy dirty night, and it's almost like the material is kind of forced to be that, and
Yeah.
it's like the comedians are throwing out their jokes to kind of like I don't know be the provocative show that it is. But that's interesting too, like when you're talking about it, like you're going to be throwing out this coronavirus material. It's interesting trying to do like material now that we used to do,
Yeah.
because like the majority of it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, it was such a simpler time, Luke. 3 months ago. That was BC, before Corona. Yeah, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about their plans for the next upcoming year. I'm like, oh, you are so naive. Like, you have no idea what's coming at you.
So, Jason, you write jokes for people. You've written other stuff. And you still write for comedians? If a new comedian was coming up, and let's be honest, clubs don't pay a lot of money. There's not a lot of money to be made in just purely doing stand-up until you get a name, you get a TV credit or whatever. What would you recommend a comedian do to kind of make their way in the world? Because you are the most savvy business comedian I know. Like I don't know how you do it. I feel like there's like must be 10 of you, because how do you
Yeah.
do all that stuff? You're the
Well,
most amazing business comedian I've ever met in my
well,
entire life.
thank you. I don't know about that. I
Oh,
feel it's just all sheer. I just love to do it that much, and so I wake up early and I go for it, and then I work as like you need to be with somebody who understands that whatever that is, and my wife does, and she allows me to work, and I think that's all the difference. That's why there are a lot of single comics. If you really love it, you need somebody who understands it. And everything I've done, I was listening to a podcast. It was Sarah Blakely, and she invented Spanx. She'll sit in on Shark Tank. She was with Tony Robbins and explaining her story. And the whole time I'm like, yes, yes, yes. That's how you do it. She goes, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have this. I just wanted it so much that she ended up putting her Spanx in little cardboard containers and putting them next to the register. And the clerk would go, are you allowed to do that? She goes, oh yeah, absolutely. And by the time they caught her and she got in trouble, she had sold so many that the owner whoever, the board went, yeah, I think we should let her sell them. We're making a lot of money. That's how I've done everything too. Yeah.
yeah, you're always hustling. And then what would you say your time home versus time out, like doing cruises, do you do colleges or do you do just private events and cruise ships?
I never really enjoyed the colleges. I do them when they're offered because it's a lot of money, but it's almost always a bad experience, a bad comedy experience for everybody. We're just there to get paid. And those are okay. Some corporate gigs are like that too. I take everything, man. I've done comedy on charter buses, and one guy hired me. He paid me pretty well to do jokes on the way to Dodger Stadium for his company, and so I wrote all these jokes about the Dodgers and about baseball. And I get on this bus. They could have cared less. They didn't know a thing about baseball, and so I had to chuck a couple hours of work. And then it's so loud, they can't hear me anyway. I'm doing it through the bus microphone. So I just started doing it like a tour, like I was the tour guide. And on your left is the FBI. You'll notice it's right next to Hooters. Coincidence? And we just, it was just random stuff. I'd make fun of people in the other cars. But it's just, halfway through those gigs, you're like, what am I doing in life? I went to
You're being
school,
a comedian,
man.
sir. You're being a comedian, and that's what you are. You're good. You're a great comedian, so that's why you can pull that stuff off.
Yeah, I say yes to everything, man. That's
So, what do you think is going to be the state of comedy after all of this stuff is over? After we kind of go back, I kind of want to get your point of view on that.
In 6 months, we'll all be holograms, and and we'll be doing shows out of our living rooms. Yeah, I don't want to think about it. I wake up early and I hustle all day until the sun goes down. And right now, it's more like everything's a Zoom show because nobody can congregate. I don't want to know what cruise ships are already. When you work on them, you're not treated like a cruise passenger. It's not a cruise experience. You're the crew. And so you enter through a separate door, you're frisked by Filipino military guys, and they go through your bags. They'll walk into your room at any time. They have random room checks. It's like you're in the military, and I can't even imagine. They're gonna take your temperature the hard way when this comes back.
I can only imagine it having to go to the club, and they're like, all right, step through here, and then drop them.
Yeah, bend over, cough. Just leave it.
So you've been having great success with Zoom shows. You do a lot of Zoom. I get your emails and your updates, so I do know it that you're doing them. Do you enjoy it? What's the hard part? What's the good part, bad part? Like, what do you?
It's a lot more stressful than a regular show because if I'm the guy, I'm mostly the hired hand, but I've got my own that I do every other Saturday. And it's a lot of policing. You have to have two other people work with you and then really watch. There's so much ambient noise. It's like, what if everybody in the audience had a microphone, and their dogs had a microphone, and their baby and their 4-year-old had a microphone? That's what it's like. So some of the comics just don't do it at all. And I have to be real careful because I don't want to strain my relationship. I think I lost a couple of really good comics for the time being just because they didn't have a good experience.
Yeah. Well, where can people find out more about you, find out about the stuff that you're doing, and kind of check you out? And then you have a dry bar comedy special too, correct?
Yeah, I have a dry bar comedy special. I'm at jasonlove.com. And I don't know if I could share screen. Oh, it's disabled. But this Saturday, I've got a Zoom show. So if you just go to my Facebook page, that's there. It's Jason. It's
Here,
Facebook.
no, you can. I believe you can share it now. I think I gave you permission to try it.
So this is the show for this Saturday here.
Oh.
And that's and these are all real top level comics.
Don is like one of my favorites of all time. Like I love that guy. He's like the dad I always wanted to be.
Don Friesen?
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I've traveled a lot with Don, and he is the dad that you think he is. Like he's, we drove to Oregon together, and the whole time he's like, helping his kid with his homework, and and getting him talking to the PTA people, and then we write for an hour. He's a good dude.
Yeah, I always want to tell him I wish you were my dad, but I think that comes off as creepy, so I would never say that to him. But I want to. I want to be like, can you just be my dad? That would be cool.
He's like, well, if that's your thing, James, come on.
Probably would say that. All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Jason, for being on it. Again, jasonlove.com, right, is where they can find you and stuff?
Yep.
All right, and your Dry Bar comedy specials on VidAngel, and I believe now it's on Netflix. Is everything on Netflix or Amazon or whatever? They're everywhere.
Dry Bar's on Sirius XM, but I don't think they've broken through to Netflix quite yet.
Gotcha. And Luke, where can everybody find you at?
You can find me at LaCoy Comedy on the social medias. And I tuned into Jason's show, the last Zoom show, and it was super funny. So it's I feel like it's the best you can be outside of a club. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And this Saturday, I think we're getting it down too. We had to iron out some kinks. Like some of that show is just me fumbling while the comics roasted me, and people enjoyed that sideshow. But I think we're getting it down.
I wish I should have set this up so I could have got one of you guys to play the guitar at the end of this show. Now I'm so depressed that I didn't do that.
Did we run out of time?
We're not out of time. I just wish that I would have said something so somebody could have done it. You don't have a guitar handy, do you?
I'll play my little parody thing I was talking about.
Yes.
We'll leave you with the low-hanging fruit. 2 months have come and passed. Still I have to wear a mask. Wake me up when Corona ends, and my waistline still expands. Thank God for elastic pants. Wake me up when Corona ends. Here comes the Tiger King, distracting us with cats. High on methamphetamine, at least they don't eat bats. I wish they'd open up the bars and ban instead these webinars. Wake me up when Corona ends.
Yes, that was awesome. You were the man.
You got the candle going, man.
I did. I had the light going. I was like, yeah, dude, we're doing this. That's what I'm talking about. Jason, you are the best, man. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for coming on. You guys go watch his special. Support this guy. He's the best, man. Like, if you want to see someone who works super hard, I think I work hard. Nobody works harder than Jason Love. I don't care who they are.
I appreciate all your kind words tonight, man. You and Luke, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I like what you guys do. I like where you come from as people. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow the podcast. Now that we have them, they're going to be, like I said, on Zoom. So we're doing it on Zoom, and then they'll be on YouTube. So you'll get to watch all of us. You can see how beautiful Jason is. He's a very handsome, gorgeous man. I'm not hitting on you, sir, but I just want you to know that.
Would you like to be my son, James?
Yeah, I would love that. That would be awesome. I think we're about the same age, so I don't know if that'll work out. But we can be brothers. You could be the handsome brother, and I could be that weirdo brother that everybody has. All right. So thank you guys so much for checking out the podcast.
Yeah, we're about to get clean up in here. So clean your mouth out with a bar of soap and get ready for the clean comedy.